Hey, Kathy. Sorry, I think there were issues this morning. It kept kicking everyone out of the rooms. Can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me, Kathy?
Yes.
Hey,
Can you
good
hear
morning.
me?
Yes.
I'm
Hey,
having computer issues, so I'm on my phone.
yeah, no, that's okay. I think I don't know if it was your issues well, I know I was having issues with Zoom because it's only letting me um have two Zoom rooms open at a time, and we're trying
Oh,
to do three. So it was kicking everyone out.
okay. I'm trying to get an internet connection and it's not on my computer and it's being difficult.
Yeah.
But I have Inventor loaded and I've been playing with it, so that's all good.
Okay,
They got
awesome.
me a laptop for
Good.
it. So yeah,
And
that'll be a big
your
help.
kids will have laptops?
No, they'll have desktops.
Oh, desktops. Okay. Yeah, great. As long as they're not Chromebooks.
No, but I had to get all new computers because Inventor wouldn't load on the ones I had. So, but they've been really, really, really helpful.
Well,
And
that's great.
yeah, but it doesn't look too bad. It's been a long, long, long time since I've used it, but I think it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so since you've got some experience with it, um, that should, like it'll come back to you and were you
Yeah,
certified in it ever or just you had tinkered in it and played with it?
I had just played with it to think about adding it to my drafting class,
Gotcha.
but I didn't. I wanted to stay with AutoCAD, and I was worried it's too much to add
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Well, with your AutoCAD experience, I mean, this should be a breeze. It's all just a different interface.
It Yeah, it's different. It's kind of reverse of AutoCAD because of how you enter the dimensions on everything.
I see.
But it's better than it used to be. It used to be horrible.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, that'll be some really fun, interesting conversations because Danny is actually the one leading the session, and I'm pretty sure he's got some AutoCAD experience as well. So you'll I'm sure have some good conversations about the differences and how to incorporate it and change it and
Yeah.
use it to the best ability. Let's see. I don't know where everyone is, and I hate that there were issues getting in. Uh, there are a lot of I have a lot of emails of people joining different rooms and then getting kicked out. Let's see. I think Jean is in the wrong room.
Hey, Vanessa, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Okay, I was just in the engineering design and development thing. It said the host cut off the meeting and I put in the stuff from the email to go to it again and I'm seeing you. What's going on?
You're okay. So you're in the right room. This is the engineering design room.
Okay, because I was just we were just introducing ourselves with Mr. Thomason and
Oh,
yeah,
oh, okay. Y'all, I think y'all were maybe in the survey of drones room. Because I just closed the survey of drones room.
okay.
So hold on. I don't, 1 second. Let me see if I can,
Okay.
okay.
You have the password written down somewhere?
I have to leave this room, so y'all don't leave this room. I'll be right back. But I'm gonna leave.
I'm having trouble connecting. But I can't look at it on my phone because the meeting started. I can see it.
Turn your Wi-Fi on,
That's what I'm trying to do, sir.
or you just by the button.
I had the. Okay.
Do that first one, I think.
Yeah, I have AT&T in front of it. And
You
I
get
don't know
home.
why.
I'm leaving here. What social stuff is it? So you supposed to finish at 1.
All right. They should all be coming.
There we are.
You hit that little thing right there and you make sure, you
Well,
double check it. It shows
okay.
you. in
You missed my introduction.
Sorry. And hold on,
Yeah,
I think we're
we
still
did.
waiting. Yeah, we're still waiting for one more, or is this everyone? Check my list.
Thank you.
Let's see. Okay, I think that's everyone for this morning. Calvin is not gonna be able to join until Monday.
Okay, cool.
But he just graduated from La Tech and
Okay, yes,
has
I
done
remember.
CAD and stuff before, so he should be able to catch up pretty quickly. So okay, yeah, so we can get back started on introductions. Sorry about that mess. I will get the link updated and all the spots to be the right one, but this is where we'll meet every time for the session. So well, I guess since I'm here, I'm not going to stay the whole time. My name is Vanessa Bega, so I know almost all of you guys. Let's see, Laura, you're new, and Renisha, welcome. So I'm the lead for the pre-engineering pathway, and I also do all of the administrative work for the pathway, so all the MOUs and certifications and things like that. But basically for this class, I put together the course and I've put together the other courses. So Gary, Jean, and Kathy, you guys have all taken courses before from us. So you'll see a lot of similarities, a lot of structural things that are kind of similar so that if you are teaching some of the other classes, there should be some familiar things. If you are not teaching any of our other classes, so that's true for Laura and Renisha, no issues. This is a standalone class. You don't have to have the other ones to do this one. It is, for those of you who have done our other classes, this one's probably the most boring. Okay, it's not super hands-on. You don't have to do a whole bunch of supplies. There's not really a lot of cleanup and all that. Sorry, I'm gonna pick up my pterodactyl, who's making all these little noises in the corner. This is Audrey. I call her my little pterodactyl. She always likes to make little noises when we're on Zoom calls. But anyway, so this class is definitely boring. Okay. It's much more of your traditional lecture-based kind of like content heavy, and less like exploring the engineering design process. But there's plenty of opportunities for creativity and engineering design. It's just not like if you've done principles of engineering or intro to engineering, it's very much like, here's some supplies, go be creative, whatever. Here you got to like actually learn a little bit of rules and learn how to use the software. So it's a little bit less fun. But a lot of kids really like that too, because it is a little bit more structured. And so your little type A kids who don't have that super creative gene, like me, who struggle with like this open-ended go do a project thing, might really appreciate this class. It's also an art credit. So on the TOPS University graduation requirements, it is an art credit. So make sure your principals know that, because again, the kids who think that, looking at a Picasso painting is the most boring thing in the world, and that they can't really look at it and analyze it, might appreciate this type of art credit more than, survey of fine arts. And then the last thing I just want to say is that this is an advanced statewide credential, which means that your school gets 150 school performance points if your kids successfully pass the inventor exam. So throughout the training, Danny will say, okay, here's something, here's how to do this skill. This is a tested skill. And then there might be other times where he's going to say, this is not a tested skill, but this is really what's important in the real world, right? Because the inventor test is, if you've ever done any industry-based credentials, is very much like how to use the software. It's really not like, how do you use this in the real world? It's just like, change this dimension. Tell me what the new mass of the object is. And it doesn't get into anything related to design intent. Like, how are you designing this part so that when you change something, your whole thing doesn't fall apart and you have to start from scratch? Like, that's not tested at all, but that's basically like the most important part of inventor in the real world. So Danny will kind of give you guys those cues of like, hey, this is kind of like a tested thing versus this is more of like a real world application. And what we try to do in this class is get you both of those. But the ultimate goal is to get the kids to pass the certification, because that's how your school gets those points. So anyway, that is my little brief introduction. And before I pop off, are there any questions? Oh, I'll wait for y'all to introduce yourselves, but are there any questions about the class or the training or anything?
I tried to join the Google Classroom and it said it was a valid code, but I didn't have permission to join it.
You have to use a Gmail account. You can't use a school account to join the Google Classroom because it's just a Gmail account that we're using. So your school domains are blocked and they won't join. Yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully everyone has a basic Gmail account. And if you don't, you can make one up that you can just use for this class.
Gotcha.
Yeah, good question. Other questions? All right, well.
I got one quick one.
Yeah.
I know this stuff said to have Inventor 2022. I have 2024, it says. Is that okay?
No,
No?
sorry.
Oh, that's not good.
I'll address that, Vanessa. The test is written for 2022. If you design objects in 2024, they're generally not backwards compatible to 2022.
how do we download 2022? Because I also downloaded the newest version.
When you go to the website, it allows you to pick previous versions. I'll have to find a link for
So
you.
do we need to delete the old version?
Yes. Well, I mean, you can have two on your computer. It just,
Oh, you can have both versions.
you can.
Okay.
I have 3 different versions on my laptop right now, so. But to
It gets
avoid
a little
confusion,
confusing when you have more than one though, to make sure you're opening the right one.
right, right.
And they update the test, what, every 3 years, Danny? So it's like
3
this.
to
they just-
4, I think. I think
Yeah.
this year they're gonna update for next year, I think. And the new update, I need to take the test again because I haven't taken it. And I did notice a couple of new questions
Yeah,
this year as my students were taking it.
yeah. So I thought they just updated it this past year for
They
2020.
did, the
Yeah,
2022, because previously it was 18 or 19.
yeah, yeah.
So
So the test
it'll
is,
be another 3 years. You're right.
yeah, yeah. And they did update the test to make it a little bit less, like you guys will see, we have a couple of practice tests and those are actually kind of older style questions where it had a lot of multiple choice type questions that were just testing general knowledge, and they kind of got rid of a lot of those and made a lot more of them like open response, where it's like, tell me the mass, not, tell me what type of feature this is. So
Unfortunately, G-Metrix hasn't updated their practice.
I know,
tests,
yeah.
So
Yeah, Danny will get into all the practice test access and all of that, but oh, I did want to mention one thing, that the goal of this 12-day training is not to get you guys to pass the inventor exam at the end of the 12 days. That's all. I mean, you can maybe, like, especially if you've got a lot of experience already in a 3D modeling software, totally possible. But for some of you guys, you might get through like the first couple of days of this and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, there's no way I can pass this test after 12 days. We will support you until you pass the test, right? So our goal is to get you the skills so that you're just good enough to be dangerous and go explore on your own for the next 3 to 6 months. And as long as you test and pass the test before your kids take it, we're good to go. So I had some people test in November, some people test in March. So it just depends on your school schedule. Like if you're a 4x4 school and you're only teaching in the fall semester, then obviously you need to pass the test by, like October timeframe. So it's before your kids. If you teach for the full year, then it's okay if you don't test till February or March. You just want to make sure you pass it though, because that is one of the requirements from the State Department, is that the teacher is certified before the kids can earn that certification. So, but I just don't want y'all to panic if you, feel overwhelmed. Danny and or I will meet with you throughout the school year, either in like one-on-one sessions or in our community of practice sessions. We'll give you guys support to practice to get you there. Other questions? All right, we can go back to introductions then.
okay, well, I'll start since I already gave those guys my introduction, so they'll have to hear it again. But I'm Danny Thomason. I've been teaching Inventor now for about 8 years. The past 3 under the LSU program. I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. My kids like it. A lot of them do complain during the class sometimes that it's a little boring, but when it's over, they talk about how awesome it was. So, it's an adjustment for some. It's a lot less hands-on, like Vanessa said, than the intro, but the kids who take it really enjoy it. And if you have time at the end, they can get really creative with the 3D printers, and they really like that project at the capstone at the end, if you can get to it. I have a hard time getting to it myself. This will be my 32nd year as a teacher coming up. So I've been at this a while. So I've seen a lot of stuff, but I try to stay current. I try to do whatever I can and have fun in the classroom. I'm in Denham Springs, STEM and Robotics Center. I teach engineering, design and development, intro to engineering, and I coach robotics. So that's me. and I teach this class with Vanessa. So who's next? Anybody want to volunteer? Okay, there we go. Hi. Anybody?
I can go.
Go ahead, John.
I'm a certified math teacher. I've been teaching high school math for almost 13 years. I teach geometry and advanced math currently. I'm certified to teach the intro to engineering and intro to robotics, but currently I'm only teaching intro to engineering. They want me to pick this up because it's an ORT credit. That way they can funnel me fine arts students that don't want to take fine arts and the IBC. I'm currently married, 2 children, happily been married for 22 years.
Nice.
Yeah, and Jean is in Bunkie, Louisiana, which is really
Yeah.
Funky.
really
like
cool
Bunkie.
because Bunkie was always Frank Neubrander's the like lead of our program, and he would always say, you know, this program can work anywhere, even in Bunkie. And then finally we got a school in Bunkie, and I was like, yes, because it's just like I visited out there, and it was like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. Welcome aboard, John.
Okay, I'll go next.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm Kathy LeBlanc. I'm in Sulphur, Louisiana. I've been teaching drafting AutoCAD for 18 years, and they've added this class. I've taught principles of engineering last year and really enjoyed that. So we'll see how this goes.
Awesome. I think you'll like it. I'll be interested to see how similar. I've never done AutoCAD, but it'll be interesting to see the similarities and the differences.
I was a structural designer before I started teaching, so I used
okay.
AutoCAD at work. So
Nice.
to me, Inventor's backwards. You set it up, because AutoCAD, everything's exact when you draw it. And Inventor, you're kind of setting up your shape and then adding your dimensions.
Yeah.
So it's not as bad as it used to. I used it a long time ago and I hated it, but now it's way better.
Good.
Way better. So I've been doing some little tutorials online, and there's some great websites if y'all want to try them to follow someone. I'll look it up later, but he's great, and he's American. I found a lot of Indian ones I couldn't understand, but this guy's a college professor somewhere, and he's got a lot of lessons, and I just pause it until I find what he's doing,
Yep.
and it's really helped a lot.
Yeah, there are a lot of wonderful resources. When I first started teaching this, I had no idea what I was doing. So I would just go get videos and show them to my students and learn along with them. So yeah, I was dumped into this with no curriculum whatsoever.
Yeah. When I started, when they interviewed me, I asked them how far they needed to get in AutoCAD, and they said, whatever you think. And I was like, oh God. But it's worked out great. I really enjoy it.
Good deal. Okay, let's go with Renisha. She's next on my window.
Okay, good morning. I'm Renisha Johnson Washington, and I teach art at East Louisiana High School in Jackson, Louisiana. I've been teaching art for the past 5 years, and they wanted to add an extension to art, so they add on another program every year, I guess, because we just had the intro, but I didn't teach. This is my first time teaching it with LSU for the engineering.
Yeah, if you talk to Ms. Washington,
That's my sister-in-law.
Yeah. If you talk to her, this class is completely different than what she's.
She persuaded me to take on this.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the structure is the same. So you'll see a lot of the resources that she has, like where she has like teacher notes and lesson plans and, slide decks and, all the resources are there, but the content is very different. So I'm glad she talked you into it. And you might be our first art teacher who's doing this. So we're really interested to see kind of how your brain takes this information and, so please don't be shy about like giving us some feedback and some thoughts on it from an art teacher perspective.
She may even be able to teach me how to draw.
Yeah.
They had me doing summer school with the elementary kids, and they actually drew some pictures.
There you go. Well, cool. Well, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Gary?
All right, my name's Gary Becerra. I've been teaching for 18 and a half years now. My degree is in math education from Southeastern. I've been at Zachary High School my entire career. That's where I'm at right now. Past 3 years, I've taught intro to engineering. I'll have it again next year. Taught principles of engineering the last 2 years, have it again this coming school year. And I got enough kids finally signed up to try this course. So I'm here to learn engineering, design, and development. I've messed around with Autodesk Inventor. I've watched some different videos on YouTube, did some of the first couple of homeworks where it's in Autodesk just to mess around with it, try to understand it. I like it. I mean, I know everybody's been saying it might be kind of boring, but this is the thing that like I think I can understand versus the go design stuff and build it courses.
I think the kids may find it a little more boring at first because it is more content heavy. But I love this class. I would teach this all day long and forego the intro class if I could. But the intro class is our bread and butter. So.
Oh yeah, you got to get them started somewhere.
Well, and the first part of the class, it does have like some paper pencil drawing, which the kids really hate. And
yeah, they do.
Oh, they really hate it. They really hate it. So we've got some strategies. Like the way we have it set up is to do like 3 units of paper and pencil and then 3 kind of mirrored units in Inventor, but you can stagger it. So you could do 1 paper pencil, 1 Inventor, 1, like kind of alternate and move around. So the curriculum can be a little flexible, but I don't want to take out the paper and pencil because it's so important to kind of like lay the foundation. And then it's also included in the LSU version of this course. So this class is not dual enrollment, but it is copied off of CM 1020 at LSU, where they do a little paper pencil. And Kathy, you're probably going to like pull your hair out because it's not true drafting. Like we're not doing like super precise, like use a compass and ruler and measurements and all that. It's sketching, but it's just laying the foundations of the, a 3D object. Like what is a front plane? What are the side, the right plane, the top plane. So there's a little paper pencil and the kids absolutely hate it. We have like cut that back so much from the first iteration of the course. The first iteration of the course had like almost an entire semester of paper and pencil. And we were like, okay, let's get rid of that. So it's really like 6 weeks maybe of paper and pencil. And part of that is by design because your kids are still switching in and out and you don't want them to miss Inventor. It's also because some schools, it takes 6 weeks to get computers set up with Inventor on them. So there's like lots of reasons why we kind of have that paper pencil part built in. But it is certainly something that some schools spend a little bit less time on and kind of skim through it versus like hardcore doing every single slide in there. But yeah, the kids hate it. So just tell them to bear with you and you will get to the Inventor fun part soon. So, and Gary, this is a fun class.
We still do sketching and drafting.
Okay.
And it helps me see their visual, how they see things.
Exactly.
So it does help, and it shows you the students that need more help.
Exactly.
So it does have a purpose. Yeah, I may grumble about it.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
All right, Laura, how are you doing this morning?
Good. How are y'all? I guess I'm last. So I'm Laura Wilkinson. I teach at Central High. I've been there for the last 7 years. Certified math teacher, taught everything from Algebra 1, geometry, Algebra 2, advanced math. And so this is the first time that I'm kind of venturing out into something that isn't strictly a math class. And so I'm excited about it. I'm interested in learning it. I married, I have a 3-year-old and I have one on the way that is due in September. So I'll be, out for a little bit, but it'll be great. It'll be great. So kind of stressing about that, but
Congratulations.
thank you.
You said something that so my geometry teachers, any geometry connections that y'all see an opportunity to say like, oh, we could like tie this into a geometry lesson in a geometry classroom, or somehow like upgrade the language to like whatever you use in your geometry classroom, like please let Danny and me know, because there is a lot of geometry in this class as far as the 3D space. I've never taught geometry. I'm 6 through 12 math certified, but I've never actually taught math. So I passed the praxis so that I could get hired as a teacher. But I've never actually taught it. So I don't have that like how to teach geometry background. So as you're going through the class, like if you have any opportunities to say like, hey, this is a great tie into geometry, like please let us know, so we can add it in.
Right, I put my email in the chat as well. I know y'all have Vanessa's, but that's mine if you have any questions. So yeah.
And I put my cell and my email address in there as well. So thank y'all so much for being part of the program and joining us this summer. I will probably maybe pop in here and there, but generally I will leave it up to Danny. But if y'all have any administrative questions about the program or anything like that, you can email me. If you have any content questions, Danny's probably your guy. And I think that's our cue that it's time to go. So y'all enjoy the training and reach out if you need anything.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was Vanessa. She's awesome. And those of you who haven't worked with Vanessa before, she will definitely answer any email or text you send her very quickly. And she does, all these courses are still, always in development. So if you have any suggestions or if you notice any mistakes, don't feel like you're being, we won't take it the wrong way. If you tell us, hey, can we fix this? This is bad. We don't want to do it this way. We want to do it this way. That's all good. Because, we're in the trenches. We know what's going on in our classrooms. We know what works for us. So any suggestions are very welcome. Okay, so that being said, let's get on to some administrative stuff. Now, John, when I get, or Gary, when I get the, I'm going to double check on the link for the downloading of the 2022 version.
I'm downloading 2022 now.
Oh, you got it?
Okay. Yeah, there's like a little drop down box from 2024 to 2022.
Version.
Yeah, I didn't
So
even realize that.
Yeah, what I would suggest, when you get your classrooms set up, put a link to that in your Google Classroom or whatever platform you use, so that your students can find, because it's a little, like you said, it's a little hard to get to sometimes. But if you just throw a link in your Google Classroom, that way the kids can go click directly on it, and they can download it for free at their house if they have their own laptop or computer that can run it. That's an issue that you might run into, is the fact that the students can't necessarily run this at home. We're one-to-one at our school, but the computers that they issue to the students don't have the capacity to load Inventor. So I don't know how you guys are set up for that. So that is kind of an issue when doing homework. I know that's an issue I've run into that you could start thinking about ahead of time. How
did you solve it?
Yeah.
Well, right now what I'm doing is working out a deal where I have a cart in my classroom with laptops, and I'm working out a deal with the administration to where the kids that are in my class get a better laptop to take home as their one-to-one laptop. One that's just slightly better than the ones that are normally issued that can actually run the program. So I
So
don't know if you,
what kind of specs is the laptop? I mean, this is pretty important information. I haven't heard. What kind of specs do the laptops need that they're ordering?
the main thing that we were running into problem was just hard drive space. They need a you know, at least 250 gigs hard drive.
Well, most modern laptops come with at least that.
Right, but a lot of schools, is anybody one-to-one?
No.
A
No,
lot of, okay, so in the school, the laptops that our school issues to the students are just a step above Chromebooks. They have like barely any free hard drive space when you get them. So it's not enough to install Inventor, which is the only issue we run into. Now, I mean, obviously, a better processor, more RAM will make it run better. But as far as the main issue is hard drive space. Because
Gotcha.
most of the issue that they run into with school laptops is if they get Chromebooks or something like that, there's like 0 hard drive space. They don't want them installing a bunch of their own programs.
Yeah, we at our school they can't install their own programs.
Right, right. But yeah, they're kids. They'll find a way around it. Mine do.
I haven't.
Okay, so and once again, you're going to need to talk to your school administration about getting the right programs installed on whatever computers and laptops that you use in your classroom.
Is it possible to install this to, let's say, a
Thumb drive?
yeah, and then run it off the thumb drive, like a 128 gig
I
thumb drive?
think it is, and that's something that I've been looking into, and I will get back to you. You can try it and find out.
I'd be curious.
I know it's an option that we've discussed.
Because that's what I had to do with the Arduino because I couldn't install it, so I had to install it to thumb drive.
Oh, really?
Run off the and I could run it off the thumb drive.
Okay, yeah, so the Arduino IDE for the intro to engineering, you run off thumb drives,
Yeah.
and that'll work. I don't know what kind of
But I noticed when I install
Right.
Inventor, it made me want to restart my computer, which I'm thinking you won't be able to install it off the thumb drive. That must have.
and I'm pretty sure that's a no-go, because I know that when you first start up Inventor on a computer, it will partition a space on the hard drive for temporary files.
Mhm.
And if there's not enough space for the temporary drive or for the temporary files on the hard drive, it will not run Inventor. We
Gotcha.
had a couple of problems with when the laptops get full because too many kids log on to the same one. And then you have to, anyway, that's a technical issue. So let's we'll talk about any questions like that you have, we can definitely address at any time. We're going to try to get through a lot of the basic information and a lot of the course content. A lot of this, like Vanessa said, will be familiar to those of you who are already involved in other classes. It'll be new for some of y'all. So for those of you who are familiar with the content, you'll just have to bear with us as we bring the new people up to speed, because we love our new people. Okay, so first thing I wanted to go over, does everybody have a copy of the schedule? I will share mine. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this. Share screen. Let's see. I believe it's grading alignment. I had it up here. There it is. There's the schedule. Okay, so as you can see today, it's just going through. Does everybody have a copy of this? This just lets you know when it's asynchronous. Obviously, that means you're going to be working on your own, and I'll be available.
you're actually showing the grading
Are you-
breakdown.
Oh, am I?
This isn't the schedule.
Yeah, it's not the schedule.
I'm looking-
Okay, I see the problem here. Okay. That's odd. Let me see if I can fix that. As you can tell, I'm an old guy. Technology sometimes gets the best of me. I did use Zoom. Here we go. There we go. All right, y'all see it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the schedule, day 1, day 2. The synchronous, asynchronous is when you'll be doing individual tasks. If we get through early, we're not going to hold you guys to the strict schedule. If you guys are progressing and we're moving along through stuff, then we'll end early. But this is what you can plan on. When it says Vanessa, you can insert Danny there. But this is what so today, obviously, we're going to go introductions. We're going to talk about the syllabus, the course overview, the grading scheme, safety and engineering notebook. That should take us until around 10. And then we're going to start in on unit 1. And then we'll let you guys work on your homework and quizzes. Now, yeah. So any questions on this document? All right. So it's really hard to switch screens on this thing for some reason. All right. We have our engineering design and development classroom. Were you able to get into that, Gary?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So classwork, as you can see, it's today is sign in, sign out. There's an attendance form. Make sure you every day you'll fill this out just through your email, first name, last name, and then I will provide an instructor. I will provide a word, I guess. I get to make one up, huh? To sign out each day. It's kind of like an attendance check. So the word for today, I guess, will be Denham Springs. So yeah, definitely make sure you sign in and sign out every day. And have you guys taken the pre-test? That'll be for homework.
Not yet.
So I only see 3 assigned, so which means there's 5 of you here. So who is not?
I'm trying to
Gary, Calvin. Ooh, there's. So let's join this classroom then. This is going to be your code right here. Let's see if we can get everybody joined in on that. Give y'all a couple minutes while I go make some coffee. Be right back.
Somebody left.
How are we doing? So we now have one more student. Laura's in.
Jean's, Jean.
Jean's in. Gary's in. Still waiting on Kathy and Renisha. You guys, okay, or y'all need assistance?
I'm having to go around my school board stuff. So,
Right. Yeah,
It's
that's an issue.
Look,
Me personally, yeah, I have to put this on my own private email account because I gotta get around the school board stuff. So it's easy if you don't have your own personal Gmail. I had to make one just for this. I mean, I have several, but it's important that you're in the class. That way we can share documents and I mean, they're shared on the Google Drive, obviously. But the banner is in my way. Okay. So on Google Classroom each day, you will have a sign in, sign out. So that we can make sure, you know, that you're here. But I mean, there's only a few of us. I don't know if you're here or not, but as far as for LSU, for, you know, clerical and administrative purposes, they want to make sure everybody's here at least part of the day. But other than that, that's all. And in your assignments, obviously reminders of what you need to do. It's also in this schedule, which you should have gotten a copy of this in your email. Yeah, that's that. So my other problem is I have two different accounts with information from oh yeah, okay. John, I got your email.
okay.
So yeah, so I have my regular teacher account, which a lot of my Google Drive stuff is on, and then I have my personal account, which my Google Classroom stuff is on. So I have to keep switching back between accounts, which allows sometimes there's a little bit of a pause when we're doing things. Okay, so yeah, the Google Classroom, if you guys can work on that, we'll get that together whenever you can take care of that, hopefully within the next couple of days. All right, so let's talk about the syllabus. Now the syllabus provided, obviously, let me go ahead and share that. This is the syllabus that is provided by LSU, which should be in your course folder under the administrative. Does everybody have the course folder in there shared in their Google Drive?
yes.
Yes,
Yes, yes, okay. So this is found under administrative. And obviously this is written for LSU, but you can feel free to adopt it or adapt it to your needs. I don't personally charge a class fee, but that's, you know, that's between you and your school. So, you know, that's going through this, looking, it's a good explanation. These are your course outlines and your philosophy and the expected outcomes, the skills needed. A late work policy, that's up to you. You know, that's grading procedures. This is based on our based on the LSU class, the CM 1020. So I don't know how your school operates. Mine is a little weird because we do category weighting for grades. So you may have to adjust some of your grading numbers for that. We'll go over the grading system in a minute. And once again, this is all through LSU. You can take excerpts from it. You can post it whole, cloth. You can do however, adapt it to your needs. I think mine's about 3 pages instead of 4. I didn't include all, well, I think I have a 1-pager and a big one that I put out. So are there any questions about the syllabus? Okay, this is our grading alignment. Can y'all see this still? Yes? No?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, sorry. This has all the intro to engineering, principles of engineering. We are this one. There are no group projects, so to speak, but you can, at your discretion, create certain assignments as group assignments. If you like, there are some things you can do as a group. That, you know, it's up to you. So homework assignments or classwork assignments. So you give a work ethic grade. Everything for this class is teacher graded. You can see over here. And really all we have is the engineering notebook, work ethic, the quizzes. There's quizzes for each unit, bell ringers for each unit, homework for each unit. And there's 10 units. So this is, see, now this number doesn't match the other number. But if you add in your midterms and finals, once again, these numbers are what LSU uses for their CM 1020 class. And some of them you can adjust. Like I said, this is not a set in stone thing. You need to be able to adapt it to your own individual class needs. Okay. And guys, literally, if you guys have any questions or comments at any point, please feel free to interrupt and ask, and we'll talk about it, because there's a lot of discussion in this class. It's going to be a lot of back and forth. This is not me dictating you have to do this. This is what we want to accomplish. Let's work towards that goal. Here's a framework. Okay, as far as supplies, really the only thing I would suggest you keep a good stock of is graph paper. So if you go to your, let's see, is it? Yeah, so you should have gotten some graph paper, isometric background paper. I would take this and make about as many copies as you can bear with your local. You know, I know schools have copy counts or whatever. You can also, if you're getting an allotment, you can order it off of Amazon pretty cheap for bulk. I go through a lot of graph paper and ISO paper. That's something that, you know, you can figure it up anyway if you want to print it out or if you want to order it off Amazon. Either way, there are a lot of places you can download images and just print it. But my kids use a lot of graph paper for sketching, and ISO paper especially early on during the sketching units. Once you get past the sketching units, you don't need to use as much. But I always encourage my guys when we're doing creative, even when we're doing creative projects on the Inventor, to sketch it out first, even if it's a very rough sketch. So graph paper is one thing you're definitely going to want to get a hold of. As far as 3D printers, if you get to the last unit and have 3D printers available, this is a great way to end the year and apply some of the skills that they learned. Depends on your schedule. We recommend, I think part of this class was a 3D printer. There's a 1-pager there. I'm looking to see if they had a supply list involved. No, I don't see it. All right. And something you're going to hear a lot of is design intent. I want to just talk about that at the beginning. So Kathy, you probably have a little bit of experience with this. You know, and Vanessa and I had a long discussion about this prior to this class this summer, is we're teaching students mainly here how to use Inventor. Okay. The skills on how to use Inventor, while our overall goal is to teach them how to design and create items or machines, parts, whatever. So it's kind of you get caught between the wanting to talk about, okay, if I'm going to design this object to do this function, where am I going to start? What's the important? How do I design it to fit the function versus just what are the skills in Inventor that I need? So this course is mainly going to focus on the skills in the Inventor, but we also want to make sure we don't lose sight of that design intent. So if we look at this document, and design intent is how a model should behave when modifications are made. And we'll talk a lot about this. And this is something that you want to try to stick in as much as possible. And it's kind of a concept that you'll mention a lot and you'll hit it over and over and over. Your students might not get it at the beginning. It takes a while for a lot of them to understand that we're not really that how you design the project, the steps you use sometimes are more important than what it looks like at the end. And that's what a lot of the design intent is all about. And we're going to talk a lot about that as we go. I just wanted to touch base on that at the beginning. Okay. I'm checking my list to make sure I cover everything. Anybody have any questions on any of that so far? Okay. So the first unit, I'm going to go through the units, and we're going to go through, hopefully each unit will spend a day kind of breezing through each unit. We are not going to go step by step through every lesson. It would not, we don't have time for that. Plus, I don't know, I hate going to PDs where you sit and stare at a screen and they cover information that you could easily read, right? Because we're all intelligent people. We all know how to read. I tell my students, don't give me a slide with a bunch of information. I can read it. Tell me what's not there. So a lot of this information here, we're going to skim over it. If you have questions about any of the concepts, I'll be glad to delve deeper. But we don't have a lot of time to simply go step by step through every single slide deck. So we'll go through each lesson independently. See, this is going to, yeah, we have till 10. So we still got about another hour for this. And let me know if you guys are needing a break at any point. Okay, so classroom policies. Now, for those of you who have done engineering design and development, that would be John, Gary, not intro to engineering, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
you know that there's literally a slide deck for every single unit, right? That is not so for this class. The first couple of units will have slideshows, but then after that, it's going to be teacher led. You're welcome to develop your own slide decks for that, but that's not something that we will work on. We'll have that will be provided at this time. So this is just your icebreaker, and this is just get to know communication is key. Going through class policies once again, this is up to you. Wake up, dress up, show up, participate. That's my favorite. But like the cell phones, the food and drink, all of this stuff is it's adaptable to you and your environment. Once again, your classroom policy is up to you. questionnaires. These are just suggestions, get to know your class, right? You know, guys, I personally don't do the write a letter to your future self part. I do other activities. So this is more of like your first day. Whatever activities you want to insert here, that is totally up to you. Okay. Safety is a big thing for me. Not so much in this class as in other classes and with the robotics in the afternoon. There's not a whole lot of, we're not going to be doing a lot of hands-on stuff. We're not going to be working with a lot of machinery. If you have, depending on what type of 3D printers you have, you know, you can talk about the nozzles and the heat. And if you have resin printers, there's ventilation safety. You need to hazardous material safety to go with that. But safety is something you should touch on in any engineering discipline. This is up to you. You can do the safety minutes like we do in Intro to Engineering. We did a safety meme competition. But for this class, this is more of a cursory because we don't really deal with any hands-on stuff. But if you want to insert one, feel free to cover the safety that is pertinent to whatever you're covering. All right, notebooks. This is going to be important for you new people. Those who've done intro, you already use the notebooks. Yes,
Yes.
John? How did the notebooks go in your classes?
Probably the same as all other classes. It's a pain in the butt to get the kids to actually write stuff in a notebook. They want to like do it at the beginning of the class and at the end of class, and they don't want to do it as the processes are happening. So I'm constantly telling them to document. But it's a real pain. I'm guessing in this one they would have more sketches maybe in it. But the notebooks, I have like a couple of kids that do really amazing notebooks, and then everybody else just falls off.
For this class, yeah, and that's the same. You have some kids who make amazing. There's a little more sketching in here. They can do their homework in here. They can take their notes in here, but it's less project-oriented stuff like in intro.
And I guess in intro, the ideas are flowing so fast, and they're remodeling and doing stuff so quick. I'm like, just document, do something, and it's just they get too much into it. They don't document.
Right, exactly. And it's something that you have to stay on, and you have to just hammer in at the beginning. That you can make time to stop. Okay, let's stop. Let's document. Let's stop. Let's document. That's more for intro. This one, it's not so much because you're not doing so much hands-on. So it's taking notes and doing your homework and using it as a sketch, pretty much.
Okay. So almost like just a normal notebook, not really a.
Yes, pretty much, because we're not really doing a lot of design. So in here, but we still want to use it to get them used to the concept.
Yeah.
But not as much as in the other classes. So for those of you who have not done this engineering notebook before, we're going to teach the kids, and you can use whatever you want for this. I had my print shop make up some engineering notebooks for my students. You can use, there's a file for an online engineering notebook. There's, you can just,
I saw a lot of people are going to this online engineering notebook,
right?
Like as far as, in the real world.
Yeah, because it's, you got a digital signature now. You can.
Yes, because I was like, well, what happens if you make a modification? They're like, well, it's going to leave a digital signature. So anything you do is going to show that you changed.
And that's the key, and the whole purpose, in the professional community is that the rationale is you want to prove your intellectual property. You want to make sure you want to protect yourself from any type of patent infringement or lawsuits for property theft, intellectual property. So you want to make sure
the digital ones will be. I imagine digital ones would be easier to grade too. So you don't
Oh,
have to do, like,
God,
notebook
yes.
pickups, and you can do it kind of like on your own time. And
And you know what's funny is, I've been teaching now for 32 years that I love grading online. Certain things, the online grading is so awesome, makes anything that makes it easier.
how is the drawing the digital notebook though?
Well, you can't.
You can't.
really
Okay,
can't.
so you really
I
still
mean,
need a notebook.
You still need a physical notebook.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that. What I do a lot is like, especially with the ISO, they're gonna have to take the isometric drawings and cut and paste. So that's another supply. You want to invest in some glue sticks.
I know with the one little drafting part we did, the isometric just blows their mind. Like,
Right. And now we're gonna be heavy into that.
Yeah.
Right, the little drafting part with the views, that's kind of where we're building off of.
Yep.
And the engineering design process. So as far as the engineering notebook, we do have this slide deck for that, so it's really good. We start talking about why it's finished. And guys, on any of these, if you don't feel comfortable, or if you want to see the professional, there's always a YouTube video of Vanessa going through the presentation. And I'll be honest, she does a much better job than I do. She wrote them. But so the purpose of the engineering notebook, like we said, for those of you who are new, is a chronological projection of a project. And it's mainly documentation of what you did every day. And it is an official document. So these are in the professional world. These are how you prove who did what and when. These are legal documents that are used in court when they're fighting patent infringement lawsuits and intellectual property lawsuits. I've heard tell it even
Not only that,
office politics.
like whenever I went to like an engineer teaching me, he was like, this is like how like you document that you've tried all this stuff and like you need more money for the project. Like you've gone through all
Right.
these steps and you're showing the work of what's happening and why it's happening, and it becomes very important to the project, especially if the project is failing.
Yes. Like I said, this is also, for you, a lot of times you forget what you did at this point in the project, or you want to remember how did you do a certain thing. So you look back onto that day and you see what you did at a certain step, because, honestly, I can't remember everything I do every day. And if something works, you want to know why it worked. And if something doesn't work, you want to know why it didn't work. So it's very important. Some people look at it as almost a daily journal in a lot of ways. I mean, as you can see this example right here, this is mainly a journal. This is from looks like it's from a VEX robotics team. Because they're just documenting what I saw the word VEX in here. So they're just documenting what they did at each VEX marketing guidelines. Yeah. So when you're not actually building or designing, this is just a daily log of what's, your notes for the day, what you learned and that kind of stuff. And why is it important? One proof of originality, chronology, all of this, proof of engagement. In this class, you can grade, it's graded. So this allows you to pick it up every once in a while and check to make sure they're still going as a grade. And also if, somebody's absent, they can pull out your engineering notebook from your teammate and say, okay, this is what y'all were working on. We'll talk about that. Different class. Anyway, notebook content. So you should always have a table of contents in the front, which tells you what's on each page and the date, wherever each project starts, brainstorming, daily process. And for those of you who teach intro to engineering, this is the exact same slide deck that you use in intro to introduce the engineering notebook. You hadn't noticed it. There are requirements, use pen. I don't know about you guys, but I have a real problem with my kids showing up with a writing utensil. Why don't you have a pen or a pencil? It's crazy. the amount of kids that show up at school without a pen or a pencil. But for the engineering notebook, it must be done in pen with the exception of drawings. Because once again, it's a legal document. And these are all the different things that you can put. Basically, anything can go in an engineering notebook. Pictures, drawings are awesome. And this is where our kids tend to not want to, in the design process, in the engineering design process, this is where our students tend to fail or be lacking, is in the design phase, where they actually have to draw the sketches and communicate their ideas. So that's going to be our focus in this, is visual communication. So the general requirements, and guys, I am not going to go, like I said, through each one, but as you can see, there are specific requirements for date, title, signatures, witnesses. These must be done every day. And best practices, if you have multiple entries, put a date by each entry so that you know when, and then only get the signature when the entire page is done. And I don't know why the students will do this. Those others, my kids want to start a new entry, a new page every day. They'll write one line on a page with the date, and then the next day they'll start on a new page. And you know, it's just not, it's a very inefficient waste. But
Or never use the back to pages, just use the front.
or yeah.
Oh my
And
God.
they'll say, well, I didn't know we could write on the back. Well, of course you can. So, you know, this is, all of these things are something in the beginning. I spend my first probably 3 weeks just walking around, watching them enter in their notebooks and correcting their little minor, I won't say nitpicky, but just to make them more best practice compliant and precise. You know, so we built on my off time after school, I work with a robotics team, and we build these 125-pound competition bots, and it's amazing. And I tell them it's the very small details that make the biggest difference sometimes. So it's not being nitpicky, it's being detail oriented. So the small details sometimes make the biggest difference. And that's one thing we want to drive home every day, is that, you know, in a lot of classes, you know, close is good enough, or, you know, it's okay, it's close enough. But in this class, especially, when you're designing something that can cause, you know, catastrophic failures in a system, if it's not done exactly right, we have to drive home that the small details matter. And the beginning way to do that is with the engineering notebook, to drive home that you have to be very detail oriented. And let's just face it, most people aren't. We're in a society where, you know, close enough is good enough in a lot of cases, but we're going to be very detail oriented. No blank space. So we use a / with initials to mark off any blank space that's left. We want to, and that's basically so that nobody can add anything later. Or if there's a blank space that hasn't been marked off, then that means somebody might have taken something out. So it's always important to mark off any blank space, not whole pages of blanks. But if you have, you know, if you're posting pictures, you're going to have little gaps and little blank areas, and we want to definitely put a / through it with the initials and the date, so that people can know that that's meant intentionally left blank. So here's more examples of blank space, blank. So once again, they're posting pictures, which is great, but you want to make sure that's there. And we'll talk about the pictures on the edge. Best practices for mistakes when spelling, we don't want to blot it out completely. Just one line through, correct it, initial and date. Never use whiteout or remove pages in your notebook. And when you put drawings, when you paste in drawings, you want to always put the initials so that they overlap the drawing and the page, and the initials and the date when glue or tape. And the kids are going to look at this stuff and say, oh my God, why? And it's because we're modeling best practices as you would use as a profession. Once again, you explain to them, people have lost millions of dollars over property and intellectual property theft lawsuits and patent lawsuits. And this is a way to make sure that you get credit for your ideas. And for images, once again, if we want to label all photographs thoroughly, we want to make sure you don't just draw something there without telling everybody what it is and describing it. You don't want to put a picture in there without any explanation or labels. Labeling can be difficult. Include a key with an explanation if you can. Once again, this is all from a VEX competition, I believe. Calculations should be very clear. We should not just put in numbers without explaining where they came from. Tables should be neat, easy to read. And and those of you who have done any kind of science or math or classes know this is common across the board for lab reports, any type of graphic reporting. Everything needs to be neat and legible. I mean, that's pretty much par for the course. Be explicit, be organized, be legible. Explicit is a thing that I think students have a problem with. What does that mean? Anybody? How about let's hear from Laura or Anisha. When I say be explicit, what does that mean? How would you explain that to your kids?
I would say to be explicit is to clearly define everything to where if I'm someone that knows nothing about this material, if I pick up your notebook and read it, I should be able to understand a good amount of what's happening, even though I don't know the specific definitions or maybe the drawing.
Right. So in intro, you probably get this a lot where they'll put in, what did you do today? And they'll say, well, I worked on my catapult. While that's true, it's not very explicit, is it? It's not very, what exactly did you do to your catapult? Be explicit, give details. Talk about, well, today we tried different types of material for our spring. We tried rubber bands. We tried this, the rubber band, be explicit. Don't just say, well, we worked on our catapult, which is what you'll get.
Tell me how you understood it.
Right.
Tell me
Because if
exactly
you don't make them, go ahead, Renisha.
Tell me exactly how you understood the whole concept to make
Right.
me understand exactly what you understood.
Exactly. Because look, if you don't, this, guys, if you don't make them give you details, they will get by with as little as possible. Today we worked on a project. What project? What did you do? So, and that's it. You have to teach them to be explicit and be legible and take their time. So at the beginning, John, like I said, you might want to take time off to, okay, everybody stop. Let's go ahead and write down and log what we've been doing for the next 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah, I do that, but again, if you don't stay on top of them every single day,
You're right.
it's like, oh, he's not saying it today, so we don't have to do it. I'm like, God.
Yes.
Yep.
So yeah, guys, and in the beginning especially, and the minute you slack off, they're going to start slacking off.
Yep.
I know it's kind of and like we said, the notebook to me is not as I'm not going to say it's not as important. It is still important.
I was
But
looking
it's
at the
not as-
grading system. It's actually a decent chunk of their grading this one.
Yes.
Didn't look like they were getting
And-
many points from grades.
And definitely, and once again, you guys can adjust however you need. I do a lot more bell work. I do bell work every day, and I don't necessarily,
So without slide decks, what do you put up for bell work? every
we'll
day?
get to that, but mainly I put up practice questions from the test.
And we have access to those?
Yes, they're in the Google Drive.
Okay, good.
They're not actual test questions. They're from the G-Metrix practice test, so it's perfectly legal. You're not doing anything unethical. So here's some more example pages just from different people's engineering notebooks. And guys, these are obviously some examples of
A
good.
really
best
good notebook.
practice. Yes, yes. And if you get one like this, thank your lucky stars, because you won't get very many like this.
No.
And this is, like
You
we
can
said,
tell
this
it
is-
was for like a competition.
right. And I have one lady that I tutored for this class over the past couple of years, last year, 2 years ago. She had some examples. Some of her students were just amazing, and then others were just,
Not amazing.
write 2 words a day. And you're gonna have that. Depending on what grade level you're teaching. What grade level mostly are you guys having in your classes?
So fine arts would normally be taken probably their sophomore, junior years. I'm thinking I'm gonna have mostly sophomores and juniors in this particular class.
Okay, what about you, Kathy?
I have about the same. I thought
Okay.
about in the notebook, can I like print an outline for the notebook and then make them follow that?
There is a rubric.
There's a rubric. In fact,
Yeah, but I was like to force them, like everything has to be filled out.
you can do that.
That way they can't skimp on it.
I mean, I guess you could.
I'm just
That's,
talking about putting a topic and putting lines. And then
Yeah,
they have
but
to
it's
fill in that
not
much.
really, it's not really that way.
Yeah, not every day
because-
will they have that.
Right, it won't be the same every day, and then some days you're putting in drawings, and I'm thinking, some days you'll be putting in drawings and diagrams, and some days you'll be more free-form, note-taking stuff.
I guess you could do an outline like if you drew today, include drawing, detail, maybe like if
I
you did
wouldn't-
this, then you need to include that.
Right. I wouldn't have it as like a notebook, like an outline they just fill in, but more of something that they sit next to it as they're going through.
Yeah, like the
like a-
topics are there that they need to
Right.
supply.
Like, yeah, date, just, you could even be specific, put the date at the top of the page if you're at the top, and then, do this, take, just a couple of reminders would be good, like a little 1-page reminder sheet.
Because I had the
Um,
same problem. They didn't want to do it and it was.
And you're gonna have that when we get to sketching, when you start the sketching, you're gonna have kids who, when you look at our first assignment today, and you're gonna see exactly and you can think exactly what you're gonna get, and you're right, you're gonna get that for a lot of them. We'll go over that. We're a little ahead. Okay, we have about 30 minutes going on. We're doing good, guys. Okay, are any questions about the engineering notebook? I know Laura and Renisha, you guys haven't seen this yet, and it might be something totally new. And this is something that if you have questions on, we can definitely get a little more thorough into it. I have something, I'll try to remember to bring it home next week. I'll show you what we printed up. We have a print shop in Livingston Parish, so I just ordered, they just did a little spiral bound notebook for me. It's got a little cover. It says engineering notebook. And the pages are set up in a way that they're kind of like this. They have a big square, and then they have the place at the bottom for the signatures and the dates. But this is actually an old VEX engineering notebook, I can tell.
I mean,
Um,
you can order notebooks like this off of Amazon.
yeah, you can. But if you don't want to spend, I looked online and they do get kind of expensive. Our print shop did them for like $2 a piece, I think, or $1 a piece or something. But,
Oh,
If you could send me the info for that, because you're so close to where I am, and we've actually had the Livingston print shop print stuff for our district before.
oh, yeah, yeah.
And so I know that if that was something that I asked for, they probably would.
And you're in Zachary?
I'm in Central.
Central, okay, yes. And Renisha, you're in Jackson. Okay. We just had a new robotics team form in Jackson. But they're more from Central Zachary. I don't know. They listed Jackson as their home, so we'll see. Okay. So any questions about the notebook? Okay. Awesome. So we are going to now start on. Hey. So as you can see, and this is, I'm going through the Google Drive, by the way. This is everybody has this. And I started with Unit 1 sketching. Under administrative, you asked about, oh, it's not there. Well, it was here. They must have moved it out. I'll get it back. There was the test. Oh, final note. It used to be an administrative, but I guess they moved it. So there will be a file with files to download to practice for the test. It'll be back. I'll have to talk to Vanessa about that. Okay, so in sketching, as you can see, now I want to talk about the communication and EDP real quick. This is a review for the kids who have already taken a prior course, but if they haven't taken design and intro to engineering, this is something that we really want to pound home. The engineering design process. I do a little activity, and once again, this is where you can talk and insert your own activities. Sketching versus drawing, Renisha, this is good for you because this is where I really, because a lot of kids are going to come in and say, well, I don't know how to draw. I'm not very good at art. I'm like, well, I can't draw either. I don't draw. I'm not artistic. You know, even though this can be taken as an art credit, you don't have to be extremely artistic to do this class. Because we are focusing on sketching, not drawing. And as an art teacher, maybe Renisha, you can tell us your version of what the difference is.
Well, with sketching would be more of a plan.
like a rough draft.
Yes, like a rough draft. And
Okay.
the drawing would be the final product, like what you plan to achieve.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I can see that. What we're gonna focus on is that
Because
the
in
sketching
planning, you're
is
probably gonna
used-
go through multiple sketches before
Right.
you get to
our more finished product is going to tend to be online on Inventor. And we're going to use the sketching as to be a quick, easy transfer of ideas. Whereas you're going to do it, it's going to be quick, it's going to be easy, it's going to be inexpensive, not necessarily precise or to scale, even though we will talk about that. And this is something that happens very early in the design process. This is when you're brainstorming. This is something our kids do not like to do. Even in intro, when we're doing projects, when I tell them, okay, I want brainstorming and sketching on my robotics teams. Okay, you've got an idea for an intake. Let's start with a sketch. They don't like to do it because they don't think they're any good at it. Or they either do them too simple or too complicated. And they don't put scales or notes or labels. So this is a skill that they can use a lot all around. It's just something that they have to become more comfortable with. And just, you know, like I said, I'm not an artist, so make sure they understand that this is something that should be done quick and easy. And without, I mean, this is the whole design idea on a cocktail napkin. You know, sketches can be done anywhere. They don't require a lot of time. They don't require special skills or software or drafting tables. But we will get to drawings, but mostly our drawings will be done with the program. So we want to make sure we go through the engineering design process and focus on the fact that visualization is a very important part of communication. And that's why we use the graphics in design to communicate, to visualize, and to document. So the sketches fall into all three, are using for all three of these categories. They're used to visualize something, because how many times have you been talking to somebody and trying to describe something, and both of you had two totally different ideas in your head? You know, they're thinking horses, you're thinking zebras, you know, and until you get it on paper, and when you finally both get it on paper, it turns out to be an elephant. You know, it's happened, guys. I've seen it happen. And kids are, you know, with me, with colleagues, with students, is one person will be describing something and somebody else will be describing something, and they think they're talking about the same thing, but when they finally get it on paper, it's totally different. And this happens. And so that's why this designs and sketches are so important for graphics, to communicate, to document, and to visualize, to get people on the same page. This is an idea. This is a guy who's coming up with some ideas of wearable tech. It's a pretty cool, and this is just, you know, you can go through and show how he's just using this as a brainstorming device. You know, a little concept mapping, a little, now obviously he's pretty good at sketching, a lot better than me or most of my students. But he's, you know, and it's even at a different language if you look close at it. But this is just an idea of how somebody could go through and look at, do some sketching to come up with ideas and to brainstorm. You know, it's not fancy, it's not even real neat, but it gets the idea across about what you're talking about. So I'm pretty sure a lot of this is different languages.
I don't think so.
Yeah, like over here.
Oh, that maybe, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I've looked at this thing off and on for the past couple of years, and I always notice new stuff. So, but the point is, you don't even need to really understand the languages to get the idea of what's going on here. So visualization is the important part. Communication, you know, we have all these different ways to communicate. And this is where I put in an activity of my own, which is kind of fun. The kids like it. It's kind of a fun little competition thing. I divide them up into pairs, and I make them sit back to back. And I give one person a paper to draw on, and give the other person a sketch of, or a drawing of just some random object. And then they have to describe the object to their partner, who has to draw it based on their partner's description.
It's kind of like the bridge building thing in
Yeah, it's kind of like the bridge building thing, but
Yeah,
this
that's
is a little,
cool.
this doesn't require as much materials, and you can do it really quick, and it takes like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
And the kids like it because, you know, they laugh at each other at how crazy their drawings are. And then you switch and you do it the other way. And so it's like a competition, but they always joke, and they always want me to put the worst ones up on the wall so that they can.
these activities that you'll have, why is it not fleshed out as much as intro to engineering, where you would have that as part?
Well, because like I
That's
said, that
ideas.
activity, that's just something I do.
Yeah, but it's a good activity. It's good for
Well,
communication.
There are a couple of other activities in here. And this is what, like I said, it's kind of like you should not have to come up with your own, but this is where it's kind of flexible. There is an activity. There's one later on. Guys, I'm sorry, I didn't. So let's look at, and then where we look at the engineering design process, documentation, obviously. So the three roles of graphics, communication, visualization, documentation, obviously we put in to designs, and I'll try to get a write-up on that, John, sorry. It's just something I do off the top of my head. I don't.
Yeah, it's a quick, easy activity. It takes no.
I don't have it
thought,
written up
and it's-
anywhere or anything.
And it's in the middle of the communication, get some understanding why
Right.
communication is important.
So let's look at the entire engineering design process. Now, for those of you who don't do or haven't done this before, we use this 5-step engineering design process in our LSU courses, which is ask, brainstorm, create, test, and improve, and reflect and document. If you look up engineering design process, it's kind of like the scientific method. You can find some of them that have, 5 steps like this one. Project Lead the Way teaches it with 12 steps, which I think is kind of ridiculous.
It's just breaking down their
Right.
bigger ones into smaller steps is all it is.
Right. I do a 3-step process. I call it
Really?
Coach T's. Yeah. It's ideate, create, iterate. It rhymes. So before, when I taught this class without the LSU curriculum, I said, okay, guys, we're going to make it really easy. You got ideate, you got create, you got iterate. And then, each one of those includes all of these different steps. But this is the engineering design process. If you have not done it, or see my kids who take my class, they're required to take intro to engineering prior, or at least concurrent. So they've already seen this. However, if you're teaching it for the first time, you might want to spend a little more time on this. And with the focus on that at each step, we need to document. That's why the word documents in there. So,
Also that it's circular versus linear versus like the scientific method.
This is supposed to be, in fact, that
You can
in
go back
intro
and
is
forth.
one of the difference between the scientific method and the engineering design process is that the scientific method is more linear, and this is a circular, iterative process. So, and once again, step 1 would be identify the problem. And I don't know what this, I guess this came up in the, and
I
then,
guess you identify in the engineering design notebook. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know why that came up in there. It's just, I don't know. Now you can look stuff, and when you're identifying, you could talk about different ways of identifying. Is it going to be product oriented? Am I trying to build a better mousetrap? Am I trying to build a specific type of furniture or equipment or whatever? It's product oriented, where, you have an idea in mind of a product, you want to make it better or more specific. And then there's, user oriented, where you're like, you're looking at a certain group of people, and, what do I need to do to make things better for these? Or I want to design something for this certain type of population. So that would be user oriented. Problem oriented, you're just trying to solve a problem, So there are different ways of coming about this, identifying the problem, whether it's product oriented, user oriented, or just problem oriented. And once again, I don't know where.
If you run the slideshow, it comes up as the last thing you click. It's just probably
Right.
the kids to document.
To remind them to document, yeah.
Always document.
Yeah, so I guess if I run it as a slideshow, yeah, so,
I see.
yeah.
Making sure that document is part of every step of the engineering design process.
Right. And once again, guys, there are notes on the slideshow at the bottom, just for this part. Feel free to use those So brainstorming and researching, guys, this is where I think the sketching becomes most important, is in the brainstorming and then the researching. And then prototyping, you start actually building it. We're not going to get much into the prototyping except until the very end of the course.
So is the prototyping just actually building it in Inventor?
Yeah, yes,
Printing it.
building it or actually 3D printing a part. So we actually do the end project where they design something and then we 3D print them, and then you have to do modifications. And then test your product. So in intro, I always tell my guys, if it doesn't break when you test it, then you didn't test it enough. Because you need to find out the limitations. You need to find out your points of failure. I also tell them that failure is not an option. It's a requirement. When you're designing something, especially when you're prototyping, you want to find its weakness. You want to find out its fail points. You want to figure out what's going to break it and how do I prevent that from happening. So testing and improving is very important. And if you don't test something to the point of failure, then you didn't really do your job. I know in intro, when we do, like, they make the catapult, so they make the bridges. So, well, did you test it? And they say, yeah. Well, what did you do? Oh, we shot it and we measured how far it went. How many times? Well, we just did it once. I said, well, you got, that once isn't enough. You have to keep doing it and get an average. You have to get more data. You have to keep testing. You have to keep improving. So that's, to me, the most important of the actual engineering design process. Now, that's not the part we're going to focus on in this class, but when you're teaching the project, that is probably one of the most important parts. And then, exit ticket, just something to hand in out the door. I don't know about you guys, but my, we have the grading scheme that's posted, but some schools require more grades.
Yep.
So if you need extra grades, you have things like exit tickets. I do more bell work. Anything you can insert in. If you're doing a little activity, feel free to throw in a grade for that.
So do you do
Just
about,
make it scale.
has it totaled how many units? 11?
10. Well, yeah, 10.
10 units, and each unit from that grading thing had like 5 grades or something?
Yes.
Okay.
So unit 10, and then the final project. So there's 10 units in a final project. And in each one you have you have bell works and you have bell ringers, which are more than multiple bell ringers. So you can divide that up into like 3 different bell ringers with 5 points each. And then you have your homework grade, and then you have your test grade, and then you have your, did I say notebook grade? I think that's, and your work ethic grade. But my problem is I'm on a modified block schedule. So there's some weeks where I see my kids twice in 1 week.
Oh.
And since a lot of them can't do homework, especially when we're on Inventor, they work on it in class. Well, so that takes up a whole class period. So in order to get the number of grades per week, I might need to have 2 grades in each class period. So I need their homework grade. Well, they don't finish it. Takes them 2 days to do that. So, you have to adapt it to whatever you need, but it's not hard. But like, I think things like exit tickets and additional bell works where you need them. That's how I usually go to get extra grades. So any questions about the engineering design process? And this is meant to be a very cursory review for some, but in depth. For those who haven't gotten it, we don't really have to, if you want to do a mini project on that, I will tell you that it should be just a cursory review, because the 10 units are going to take a lot of time, depending on the skill level and your schedule. Is anyone on a semester block? No, good. It's a lot harder that way. No, I really don't know if I could do it on a semester block.
Wow.
It would be tough. All right, so let's see, we're gonna take a quick break. It's 9:49. Take 10, we'll come back at 10 o'clock. And we will start on basics of sketching. There is a nice, wonderful slide deck on this, and we'll talk about this is one of the most important units, I think, because it sets your foundation. Like you said, John, they freak out when they start looking at ISO, so that's something you're gonna have to spend a lot of time with. So we'll come back at 10 o'clock and work on this. Okay.
Uh, Good morning.
Is everybody back yet?
I'm back.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
I'm here.
Hi, Laura.
I'm back.
Gary, Renisha, waiting on Renisha and Kathy. Hi, Renisha. Okay. So we're going to go through the first part of sketching. And like I said, this is probably one of the most important things to kind of set the tone. When we look at their homework for this section, that's kind of where you're going to see the kids that are with the effort, because the kids are going to be, it's hard sometimes to get them to focus on just drawing lines a certain way, you know. Someone's just gonna spread across the paper and be done with it. Okay, so in this particular unit, like, so these are supposed to be, this is supposed to be quick bell ringer. My kids sometimes have a little bit of time getting this done in the 5-minute limit. The video is simply just a 5-minute countdown. Take any object from your back patch, sketch it in your engineering notebook, and remind them that it should be something that's rather small. So it should fit comfortably on half a sheet of paper. You don't want anything too big. But you also don't want anything too tiny. A lot of people do pencils. Pencils are good. Cell phone is a popular one. Too complicated, tends to take a lot more time. So you might want to help them in choosing their object. And as you do this, you'll get more comfortable with it. So the first thing is you take them out, try to hold them to the 5 minutes. Get something on a piece of paper, even if it's just a very, very rough sketch. It looks like a kindergarten drew it. That's fine, as long as you get something down, because we're going to come back later and fix that. So this is what I want y'all to do right now. Find something to draw on. Now, Bernicia, we're sketching, not drawing. Don't get fancy on us. So grab something handy, something small that'll fit on half a sheet of paper. I'm going to start the clock and you have 5 minutes. Tell me when y'all are ready.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Are you good? Thumbs up. All right. Rock and roll. Up. And you even get some nice music to go with it.
All right. How are we doing?
Done.
Who wants to be brave?
Hey, hold on.
Screwdriver. Oh, that was pretty nice, actually. I like that. Who else?
Oh, he did different views. Nice.
I did
Oh,
a
that's a
tape-
tape. Is that the tape
Yeah.
dispenser?
Tape dispenser was on my desk, so I just grabbed it.
Oh, you did different views. Okay. Kathy,
I did my coffee cup.
I knew you were gonna do that. Gary, Laura, you saw yours, Laura. Who's that?
It's my phone.
Oh, okay. Okay. I got a small screen. I gotta stop share to get the big screen.
There we go.
And
I'm
Renisha,
blurry. Mine is blurry. Oh, I see.
show us what you got.
You have to take off the blur. Yeah.
Look at that.
That's
Is that a pencil sharpener?
Yes.
Oh, man. See, I could tell she was gonna do a good one. So it's important here to just, you guys did awesome, by the way. Much better than what you're probably gonna get from your students. But it's okay, you know, at this point, you know, just reinforce that, you know, you're not expecting anything awesome. And like I said, you'll get stick figures from some of them, which is fine at this point. So then we're gonna go through, the advantages of drawings and sketches. See, now they stick in drawings because they're quick and expensive. The universal people don't always speak the same language, but if you show them a picture of something, they generally know what that is. Okay. The skills that you want to develop, and this is, you don't necessarily have to have these skills at the beginning, is accuracy, speed, legibility, and neatness. I think speed is the big thing that most of the kids are going to be lacking. I mean, they're going to be lacking in most of these, but learning how to draw fast and sketch fast and accurate is probably going to be one of your biggest hurdles, because they'll want to take like that one little 5-minute activity. If you let them, they'll take 30 minutes to do that. So, you know, hold them to it, because you don't want to get bogged down on that. Unless you want to fill 30 minutes, then give them 30 minutes. But the whole point is it's supposed to be quick. It's supposed to be quick and easy. So then we're going to get into the different types of projection for 3-dimensional objects, because, you know, we're in a 2-dimensional medium with the paper. How do we show something that's 3 dimensions? And we talk about isometric view. This is like John said, that this is kind of blows their mind a lot of. And when they learning how to draw the isometric at sometimes is very difficult. I have a big foam cube in my classroom. And it's got it looks a lot like the view cube on Inventor, which let's see later. And I just write, you know, I do the letters for, you know, front, right, top, bottom, back and left. And I hold the cube up and I just rotate it so they can see how, if I hold it in this way, you can see these 3 sides perfectly. And you know, they'll get it. A lot of kids, so axonometric, which we call isometric, is one type, is the type that we use. Dimetric, trimetric, we'll never see. And frankly, I don't even know what that is, other than the fact that they exist. I figure dimetric is showing 2 sides, and then trimetric is some way of showing 3 sides. Orthographic or multi-view, this is the 2 that we use, isometric and multi-view, shows more than one necessary view to describe an object. Now and we'll talk about that. And then oblique and perspective are something that they do in art, and probably in a lot of drafting, but we're not going to do that other than to recognize that they are types of views that we're not even going to really look at. So we're going to focus in this class on isometric and multiviews. Questions? Okay, moving on. So alphabet lines, once again, the actual alphabet lines has a bunch of different types of lines, of which we're only going to use maybe 4 or 5. So we don't need to go through the entire alphabet at this time, other than just to talk about the lines we are going to use, which mainly are visible, hidden, and center lines. Those are the 3 main types of lines we're going to use out of the alphabet lines. So the first one is a visible line. These are the dark, thick lines, and 0.6 millimeters. That doesn't mean anything to any of your students, probably. So it's going to just focus on the fact that this is going to be darker and thicker than the other lines. And this shows, outlines and defines features that you can see, and only features that you can see in a particular view. Hidden lines are going to be lighter and short dashed lines, an even dash. See, it's just even dashes. And these show the outlines, that things you can't see in a particular view that do exist. And once again, we'll talk about when we omit those, we'll talk about section views, but for now, the hidden lines are just stuff that you actually can't see, but for features. And then there's what we call center marks and center lines. These are long, and then a dash, and then a long, then a dash. And once again, these are types that they're going to practice drawing. And these shows the center of holes, slots, paths of motion, and symmetrical objects. Remind them, though, that center lines are only for circular holes, not square holes. If we look back at this is a square hole. It has no center mark or center line because it is a square hole. These are only used for circular holes. And see how this drawing right here looks a lot like this drawing right here. And the only way you know that that hole is round and that hole is square is that that hole has a center line. And you will have students putting center lines on square holes, and it's just something you need to watch out for. Okay? Questions? You guys are an easy group, you know that? Yeah.
I've done this
All
with
right.
intro for the past 3 years.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, you do this. This is the basic intro. I want to switch to share view for this because when we're talking about drawing circles, and you may have a better idea of how to do this, Renisha, than us, but drawing circles is hard. Nobody can draw. Very few people I know can draw really good circles right off the bat, and most people have problems with it. So, and since we're going to be drawing on graph paper, it's easier if we just use that to our advantage. Now, once again, this is something that you're going to show them this, and this is, you got to almost force them to use this process because they want to skip ahead and just draw the circle. So when I'm grading these first few exercises, I'm not grading what the circle looks like in the end. I'm grading to see if they did the actual process. Even if their circle looks like crud, I'm grading, I want to make sure. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw a very thin cross at the center, or where the center is. And then you're going to put 4 dots along your cardinal compass points, north, south, east, and west, at the radius of the circle. And this is kind of one of those things where we know that these lines aren't going to be exact. So you got to be careful here. But we are going to draw the 45-degree lines if we have room. If you don't, if you're dealing with a very small circumference, or diameter, you can just draw off of the small, or off the 4, but it's easier if you have 8 points. And then you just connect the dots, trying to make the curve as smooth as possible. And that's the easy graph paper way.
You ever just let them use compasses?
Yeah, if you have them.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I
I'm
teach
okay with
geometry,
it.
so I've a class set.
The problem is when you get to the isometrics, you can't use a compass. Now, isometric circles are a
Because
little
it's
bit
like an
harder.
oval. Yeah,
Right, it looks like an oval because we're looking at it sideways.
yeah.
From a slant. So, and this is where you're gonna have people try to use these vertical lines for this, for their flat plane. But you got to practice that the top plane of the circle is really this kind of diamond shaped area. And this is the top square flat surface of the top. And so what I mainly do is I focus on drawing the square,
Hmm.
and then you drew your crosshatch just like normal, but making diamonds, not, a lot of people want to do this straight up and down and across this way, but there are no lines across this way. So
Hmm.
I want to point that out to them that, you know, this is your front to back line right here, from front over here to back over here. And this is your right, and this is your left back here. This is something that they really have a hard time with sometimes, that you're just gonna have to keep reminding that front is over here, right is over here, back is here, and left is over here. So your lines are gonna go front to back and left to right. And then you can draw the cross line for your more extra points, and then you just, oop. Sorry. I clicked too many times. And then you do, if you have room, you can draw the cross hatches. I usually just stop here, and then in here, you're gonna have long, shallow parts. So you draw the 2 long parts, and then you draw the 2, where's this over here? Look. So I'm gonna draw this part here. Oh, look at that, it does work. And then I'm gonna draw this part here, try to connect that. But these are your 2 short, fat ones, and these are 2 long, skinny ones. So I usually focus on having them draw these parts, these 2, and then these 2 to connect. That's pretty cool. Didn't know I could do that. How about that? All right. And this is, once again, you'll see them start trying to just draw the circle without drawing your cross hatches and your marking lines, and that's when I make them go back and, ooh, erase that. See, I did myself in. I tried to get fancy. There we go. All right, and then you can kind of show them the title block and paper size, but we're really not going to be worried too much about that when we're sketching. So this is, and this is up to you if you want to try to get them to do title blocks for their sketches, but, and you can start putting their sketches in the right area. But for the most part, we're not going to use title block and page layout for the drawing part. And then introduce the concept of scale. You know, 1 to 1 is normal size, 1 to 2 is half size, 2 to 1 is double size. And we can use a compass, and these are some things you might want to use because you geometry guys, you know how to do all this, the bisecting a line, creating a triangle, using a compass. And these are some extensions you can use if you want to let them use that, or focus and take time to do that if you have some extra time. If you have compasses, or you can do it with, you know, show them how to do it with a string and a tack. You know, I know drawing circles is always, especially larger circles, is always a problem if you don't have compasses. But, you know, use what you have. And if you don't know, if you're non-geometry people, and you don't know how to do these things with a compass, then, and a ruler, then there are billions of Google or YouTube videos on how to do these things. Feel free to add any of this that you want. That is totally up to you. And understanding rulers. Now, this is something that we put in new this year because it's necessary. I can't tell you how many of my kids do not know how to use a ruler when they come to me.
I can.
Yeah. Or the difference between measuring in inches and in millimeters. It's a skill that they're going to have to understand. And as they draw, kind of a little side challenge I do sometimes is I ask my kids to take out a blank sheet of paper, like a copy paper, not graph paper, because they can cheat on graph paper. And draw me without using a ruler, draw me a straight line that's 3 inches long. And you can make a little competition out of it, and of course they'll say, well, that's not possible, or that's terrible. And this is something you can practice, or how you expect us to do that without a ruler, blah, 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 blah. It's just, it's a silly little thing that I used to practice, and now I can do it. I'll just get there and I'll draw a line and I'll get them to measure it. It's usually dead on 3 inches. So just by understanding and being able to visualize in their brain what an inch is and what a millimeter is without having to use a ruler is good, but use a ruler if necessary. And they need to start being able to think about, what exactly is an inch, what exactly is a millimeter. And then on the graph paper, remember quad ruled, so every block is how much? Anybody?
Fourth of an inch.
Fourth of an inch, right. So if you get standard quad ruled graph paper and, explain it to them, every block is 1/4 of an inch. And that's going to be standard for all of our drawings. So if you're drawing something 3 inches, how many blocks is that? 12 blocks.
Well,
So, that's, but they do need to understand how to measure, because it's very important. So then we're going to go back and revisit our bell rate. I'm not going to make y'all do this. And they're going to use the original, sketch it 1-to-1, using all the techniques, add a drawing, a title block, and then draw it again on a new piece of paper with 2-to-1. This is one of the reasons we wanted them to pick an object that could fit on half a sheet of paper, so that when they do the double scale, it'll actually fit. I'm not going to get y'all to do that. However, any questions? Let's practice. So then we get to our practice sheet, which is quiz and homework. So your homework looks like this. Now I'm not going to get you all to do this right now, but and these are your 3 types. And then I also kind of might want to label each one what it is. What's the first one? Is a visible line. And here you're going to have to be careful to make sure that they take time and don't just, put a stripe across the paper. Oh, it's just a line. This one is your dash, and this one has the dot dash, or the dash line, dash, longer dash pattern for visible,
Center line.
hidden, and section, or no,
Center.
center line. And then they're going to do the practice their circle drawing. Once again, you're not really looking for how good of a circle they draw, but rather they actually use the proper technique that you explained to them earlier. Here, we're just getting them to copy the multi-view drawing. We're just getting them practice drawing. Same thing. They have to copy this over here. And once again, you're looking to see if they make their box and they follow the proper techniques. You guys get to do all this for homework. And when they add your name into this, what you're looking for is the cardinal rule of title blocks is that you only use what?
and
Anybody?
Pen?
No,
I apologize.
capital letters and print.
Oh,
You only print and you only use capital letters on title blocks. That is like the cardinal rule. So all I'm looking for here is that they write their name in. They don't have to fill out. And you're looking for the basics that, and they can refer back to the PowerPoint if you want to make that available online so that they know what they're looking at. And you just want to make sure they put everything in neatly and in all caps. But this is going to be your homework for tonight. And I'm not going to check, guys, but that is.
Looks like I'm gonna need ink for my printer.
Okay, any questions on the unit? And this is like your basic intro. We're going to get more in depth into, and we're going to talk about unit 2 now. What the heck? How did I sign out? That was weird. Okay, so unit 2 is we're going to start focusing on multi-views. So you can do that, the homework for later. So on the multi-views, these are some STL printer files. If you have a printer, a 3D printer, this is. You're gonna have to download these. Anyway, if you have these files, you could print these out ahead of time. If you do not have a 3D printer and you would like me to make you a set, I can do that. So that I like handing these to the kids so that they can actually see the object when they're first starting out. So they can actually see what the object is and they can rotate it and look at it from the different views. It helps them in the beginning. So that they can, it helps them to have it in their hand to do the multi-view. And we're only going to do the first section now. In the sketching part, we do have slideshows, which is good. So when we introduce the multi-views, we're talking about the different projections. And their first bell ringer is to sketch a styrofoam cup. Now, once again, this is something that if you let them, it will take the entire class period. Definitely put a time limit on it. And, you know, do whatever, as long as you think they need, but don't let them take too long. Okay. And if you don't like a styrofoam cup, you can pick something else, but I usually have a cup there sitting on the, I usually just bring a cup and just set it out and say, you know, do this cup. And once again, we're going to review the types of projection. We're going to talk about what isometric and how it works. Once again, they're not going to have to measure the angles because we have paper for that. Yay. And then we talk about the glass box view. So if I put a glass box around it and just press it up against the glass, what's it going to look like? You know, from the front, from the top, from the right. And then we take that box and we expand it and expand it out. What would we see? And these are the three views we're going to use, just the top, the front, and the right. Now, you can argue that in some cases you need multiple more views to get a full picture of an object, which for very complicated objects may be true, but we're not going to get there yet. So front, the top, the front, the right, these are the views that we're going to focus on, and the arrangement of the views is important. This is something else I've noticed. The kids sometimes have a hard time understanding that the front view must be here, the top view must be here, and the right view must be here because they are aligned with each other and they share measurements from the different angles. They'll want to put them on a sheet of paper and let's in a line across the top or on a line straight down, or just all mixed up. And that's one of the grading points and that you're gonna have to focus on. So you start with an isometric, and then you look at the multi-view from the front, which is only the surfaces that you can see from the front. If I hold it, if I set it on the, on a table and I look at it directly from the front, a couple of the guys that, the kids I've seen, so you did this with your intro students, right, John and Gary?
Yeah, we touch into it.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, did you have, what are some problems that they had with their views that you saw?
Just understanding basically exactly what to exclude and exactly what you see. It took them a while to just gain that understanding. I like this the shading that you used here. That helps a lot.
Yeah, and that's exactly what a lot of the common problems is. You'll see on a lot of them, they'll want to, even though it's a front view, they'll want to put some, oh yeah, well, it goes
Yeah.
back here like this,
Yeah.
and they want to put that there because they know it's there. And even though you told them this is just what you see from the front, they still won't, well, but all that's back there. I said, but you can't see it. So you don't draw it. And that's the common thing, is that even though they want to put that there. They want to know that it's there, and then they don't understand the concept that if you don't see it, don't draw it. And that will cover that by looking at it from a different view, from the top, only what you see, looking at it directly from the top. And this is where having the actual objects that they can hold in their hand and rotate and look at, and they can see, oh yeah, that's what I see. That's where it kind of helps. And then the front view, the right side view is only what you can see from the right. And then when you put them together, they're arranged this way, front, top, and right, because they share dimensions. And then when you put them on a drawing, we generally look at the ISO here. So this is how they're generally arranged. In fact, when you start doing drawings in Inventor, this is how they will be arranged, with your top, your front, your right, and your ISO over here. And then you have your different dimensions. You have width, you have depth, you have height. And knowing that which view shows which dimension, this is a test question too. You can tell them that on your quiz, the top view shows width and depth. The front view shows width and height, and the right view shows depth and height. So each dimension is shown on 2 of the 3 views. So, if you need something that shows depth and height, you would use your right side view. If you need width and height, you'd use your front view. And they share those dimensions by lining up with each other. Once again, we should probably go slideshow because there's some animations in here. So that's your front, that's your top. And then that is your right. And it just so you can see, if you rotate your view cube, you can see that they're actually rotating the view cube. This is something you can do in Inventor that helps out. What the heck happened there? So I don't know what your situation is as far as hang on. Big W in there. I'm gonna have to go and edit some of these. And once again, if you feel free to make copies and download these and edit, fix the problems. Okay, so back to slideshow. So then you're going to take this. I don't know what type of screens you have in your room. I have a one I can draw on. It's like a smart board. but you don't really need it for this, but if you want to go ahead and draw it ahead of time and talk it out. So if I'm looking at this, if I'm going to draw the front view, what exactly can I see from the front? And you can have them draw along with you on a paper. So I look at the width and I know that the width is 8 inches or 8 blocks, which is 2 inches, and the height is 6 blocks, which is 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and just rough out the side of my glass box there, which is 6 by 8. And then or 8 by 6. And then I'm going to go ahead and transfer what I can see to my front view. So these are the actual front view, what you can see. And then I'm going to look at, oh, now there. Yeah. And those are like the hidden things that you can see. So this is what my front view would look like. I would have the visible lines would be the L shape, and then the 2 hidden lines would be the dotted lines there and there. So this is all what you can see from your front view. A lot of people are going to leave out at first the hidden lines, but that's something to work on. And then when you go to your top view, do the same thing. This is going to be your width of 8 and your depth of 5. So you're gonna just put in what you can see. I can see that surface, I can see that surface, I can see that surface. And then all these measurements. And then it's going to look like this. There are no hidden lines from this view, which is good. And then the same thing with the right side. You can see the two toes, I guess, in the back, and then that one. And it's going to look like this. Once again, there's no hidden lines on this view either. So this is all you got to do is, you know, teach you. You're going to look at each side individually. You know, you're going to see what can you see from that view? What are the dimensions of those objects or those shapes, and then draw them in and transfer them. I think going from ISO to multi-view is easy. The other way is a lot more difficult for the students at first, but then they'll figure it out. This is bad. Like I said, having them all over the place, not good. You want them, that's not good either. You want to stress the alignment. You want to stress that they have to show that they have to be in that L shape with the, you know, like I showed you before. And remember that the front view shows height and width. The top view shows width and depth. The right side shows height and depth. All right. Any questions about that? So we're going to work on, hang on. Let me look at something real quick. Yeah, we're going to do 1 and 2. So let's look at the handout. You guys have printers and you can print this out, or you can. So this is the student handout. We're going to do part 1A and B. So this is where we're going to take this and we're going to sketch this in the multi-views in our notebooks. Okay. Give you all a few minutes to work on that. And if you have questions, comments, feel free. And once again, plan on the students taking a lot longer to do this than normal.
Which one are we doing? I can't
Just
find it.
doing, sorry, let's go back. We're just doing, A and B, part one.
Out of what
Well-
section though?
This is, okay, lesson 2.1 handout, I'm sorry. So if we're, if you're in your Google Drive, it's, unit 2, section 2.1 or lesson 2.1, and then it's student handout.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Sorry about that. Seeing if I could fit it all onto this little square. Think I can. Nope. In the wrong spot anyway. Because if I start at the very bottom, I can. Yeah. Go ahead, G. So once again, I'm not as concerned with how neat it is in the beginning, as long as they get the concept. That was weird. All right. So you should have something that looks sort of like this, but a lot neater, right? And that was for the first one, and my computer just shut down, so. The one. So for the second one, everybody got something that looks kind of like this? Second one, I believe. Can't see it right now. I'm trying to remember. Sick. I had it pulled up on my other computer and it just shut down for some reason. All right, so anyway, you kind of get the idea of what we're talking about here. And feel free to, draw along with your students on some of this. I do, we do, you do type of thing. Definitely in the beginning, they're going to need a lot of help as they grasp the concept of the multi-views. Okay, there we go. So maybe questions on that?
Do
Laura, how'd
they
it go?
have a teacher handout that shows all the views?
Yes. The solution. Right underneath.
I see it,
the-
okay.
And then that's what you should have come up with. I usually tend to just show it, this is for you. And I'll usually draw it, put up a graph paper template and have one of the kids come up and draw it on their graph paper template on the screen.
Mhm.
If you don't have that ability. And once again, they can, the key is that they line them up in the proper, and we'll talk more about how that works because the dimensions and the parts actually line up with each other throughout the drawing.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And that's so as we continue through the lesson, and it's up to you whether you want to just power through and let them do it all at once, or I think it's better to let them kind of do a little bit of practice at the first. You can break this lesson into 2 parts. Let them do a little bit of practice in the beginning so that they don't forget what you've already taught them before they start practicing on their own. Then we get to the little more complicated versions of looking at the different types of planes, whether it's a normal plane, which is going to be parallel to one of the surfaces. And this is something from E-geometry, guys, you know what we're talking about. A normal plane is something that is parallel to the surface, to one of the, like if you imagine your glass box, it's parallel to the edge. And then you have your inclined planes, which, and the key, what you're trying to focus is when you see the parallel plane in the normal plane in the 3 surfaces, on one view, you're actually going to see the plane. You're going to see the whole thing. Like on this one, this view here, X, you're going to see the whole thing here. right? So you're going to see the entire plane in this view, but on this view and this view, you're just going to see the edge. So it's one plane and two edges in the different views. You're going to see the entire plane in one view, and then you're just going to see the edge of it in the other two views. So for a normal plane, you see one plane and two edges. For an inclined plane, you're going to see the actual plane, which is the surface Y, in two views, this one here and this one here. And then in one view, you're just going to see the edge of it. So that's an inclined plane. And then you have oblique planes, which can be slanted in any, and you're going to see the surface of that in all three views. So this little cutout Z, you see the surface of it in all three views. So that's the three types of planes and their relation to which view they show up in. Now cylinders and holes, you'll see the circle part in one view, but on the other two view, it just appears as lines. And you notice we have the center mark through it and the hidden lines. The center mark lets us know that, or the center line lets us know that it's a circular cavity there. And notice that here it's a cross. This is called the center mark, and these are called the center lines. And it's the same concept, but on the circular view, it's a center mark. And on the, we call these the rectangular views, the center line. All right. So once again, as you can see, as you go top view, even though this is a circular part, when you look at it from the top, it appears flat. And when you look at it from the side, you don't see the, so, and they're going to want to try to like shade it to let you know it's circular. No, we don't need to do that, because we can see on the front view that it is a circle, and that's all we need to know. On the side view and the top view, it just appears as a rectangle. And once again, if you forget what you need to point out and stuff, there's always in the notes at the bottom. And let's talk about precedence of lines. Sometimes, like in your views, you'll have a visible line that's on top of a hidden line, and a hidden line may be interfering with a center line. Well, which takes first? Which one do you? And they'll try to stack all three right next to each other or whatever, and tell them no, that's not what you do. Is visible lines always take precedence over hidden or center, and hidden lines take precedence over center lines. So it's reverse alphabetical: visible, hidden, center. And it's okay for lines to be on top of other lines as long as you make sure you follow the precedence. And so this would be like an example of that. If I'm showing this from the right side view, there's a visible line, but there would be a center, a hidden line there. But since it's behind the visible line, we just see the visible line. But on this view, we see both hidden lines. And on this, the visible line covers up the center line. And on here, the visible line covers up the hidden line. So understand that, and in here, the center line and that hidden line overlap. So we show the hidden line as opposed to the center line in that view. So really the only view here that gets the center mark is this view, and it's the mark, not the center line. That understand? That help? Questions on this? I know some of you guys, am I throwing a lot at you? You guys that haven't seen this before? No? Okay, good. You guys are acing it. All right. Also what you do a lot of times is you extend the center line out past the thing. However, so you can actually see the little overlapping lines that extend out if there's a center line, but we don't do it there. All right, as a review, once again, and this is reviewed a lot again because this is a tested item, is that your primary views, your front view shows height and width. And this is something you're going to review at the end. And go for it. All right, so at this point, we would do part B of the student handout, which is actually C and D. I'll fix that. And resketch your styrofoam cup using multi-views and hidden lines. I'm not gonna ask y'all to do all of that. So we're actually kind of ahead of schedule, which is good. Okay. So what we're going to do is go ahead and go to our homework. There's a lot y'all need to do today. Since y'all just joined Google Classroom, if you haven't done your sign-in word of the day, it's Denham Springs. I'm going to go ahead and sign this.
Some of that was actually on the pretest.
Yes, in fact, if you haven't done the pretest yet, so we need to do the pretest if you haven't. And that's in Google Classroom as well. Also homework 1 and quiz. And I'm adding. I'm typing on the wrong freaking, hang on. I'm working on 2 different machines here. So I'm going to add something to your assignment for today. So it says do homework 1 and quiz, but I also want you to add, I'll do it on here and make it easier. We're going to add the rest of the handout for unit 2.1.
That's the 2A and B.
Right, we did A and B. Wait, why?
I have to go buy some graph paper.
Well, you can, like I said, you can print it out.
Yeah, my
And you don't
printer's
have
not
to
working.
use a lot. You don't have to, in fact, if you want to just do it online, I'm fine with that. You know, just bring up a picture, use a little drawing tool to draw. You can do this online. If you have, just use paint and pull up the grid. Do you know how to do that?
Sure, I can figure it out.
It's pretty simple. Let me show you real quick.
I'm just trying to get some graphic. Do we need
All right, yeah, either.
we do
I
a lot
mean,
of isometrics too? I guess it might be hard to find isometric paper.
Yeah, it's really hard to buy ISO. I always just print it out, but if
I
you
know, me
don't,
too.
and once again, what you can do is you can download the, you can, let me see if I can, that's not there, it's here. And what I have my students a lot is I'll just go here and I'll take like, see this ISO paper.
Oh yeah,
Right here.
I can print it, but my printer's done.
No, you don't have to print it even. You can open,
I'll like take a snapshot, like an image, and then
you can download it.
draw over the image.
Right.
I see.
And then just, put that into a document. And then, draw over it. Let's see, I'm trying to save as, yeah. And then just open like a Google document. Because, you got to find creative ways to do stuff because the kids sometimes will have these issues where, they're like, oh, I don't know, I can't do that, or I don't know what to do. And you'll have to get creative. I can just, not Outlook, wrong one. I hate Google Docs, by the way. There you go. And put that in your document and then just draw on it. You know. I don't know. You can, you know, there are a lot of different things you can do. Like I said, I always have the paper, but if you don't have that ability, then, you know, get creative. Let them do it in a paint program, or let them do it in a Google Doc or whatever. Download the isometric background, and you can do it that way. Whatever you need to do to get you know. Let's see where to go.
Should our assignments be listed in the Google Classroom?
Yes.
Is- All I'm seeing is the pre-test and the surveys.
Right. I was trying to add to your day one. Right now it just says unit 1 and quiz. I got sidetracked. My fault. I just posted the day one, but I'm going to add to it. So you're going to have to refresh.
Okay, that's what I was.
I have a question about the data and surveys. It says we were supposed to receive an email about setting up a username and password. I did not get one.
Okay, that is a Vanessa question.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
Okay, so email Vanessa. And because that's going to be on BR Bytes, and she has to set you up for that. Yeah, that's definitely a Vanessa. And this is something that you know, the surveys that you do at the beginning of,
Yeah,
it's the same surveys.
yeah, I figured that.
So, and the cool thing is if you teach both classes,
Just have to do
And-
the survey once.
right, correct. You know, if you do it for one class, they don't have to do it for the both. So, and the pretest, I'd like the, y'all need to do the pretest. And once again, this is one of those things where the kids are going to take the pretest. And, you know, unlike a lot of classes, this one, they should be totally lost. Like,
Yeah, I took it. I was pretty damn lost.
it's, if you're totally clueless on this pretest, that is normal. But if you didn't get the link for the data collection, email Vanessa. And get that, she'll take care of you on that.
Okay.
I'll try to edit. Why won't it let me edit this? This is odd. It'll let me edit it on my computer, but it won't let me edit it on my laptop. So I'm going to move this aside. So what we're going to do is I'm going to edit that. So your assignment today is what the pretest, which is under general information, and unit 1 homework and quiz, unit 2 .1, the rest of the handout. Now I will be here until 1, so you have 2 hours. You do not have to be on the call. It's totally up to you. I'll have the laptop open next to my computer. I'll be working on some stuff. So if you jump in and need help, I'll be here. But as far as direct instruction, that's it for today. Anybody have any questions?
Just to reiterate, so homework 1 and homework 2 pretest.
Homework 2.1 only.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the finish that worksheet. I'll go ahead and put it in the Google Classroom. I just have to switch to the other keyboard. It's kind of hard to reach right now. My laptop, I don't have a camera on my desktop. So I have my laptop sitting in front of my desktop. And that will be fixed sometime next week, hopefully. All right,
Sounds good.
All right. Y'all are done. Like I said, I'll be here. I'm gonna set this over to the side, and if you need something, just jump on in, and I'll still be here until 1 o'clock.
Thank you.
Okay? No problem.
Thank you.